So we do have a special guest, guys. Before we have our other people share, I kind of want to introduce the real man of the hour, the guy who's actually made all of this possible for us tonight. So, David Sandoval. Not only my friend on Facebook now, he's like my friend.
How y'all doing?
Fine.
Glad I was able to, hey everybody out there too. Glad I was able to make it by tonight, you know, and I never know quite what to say, you know, and it's always like to listen to what you guys are saying. I get the question a lot about, wow, you know, it's expensive. And you know what I do? I don't care who it is in this room, give me your credit card slips, okay? And I'll show you that between Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, how many days is that?
10 days.
I guarantee you that in those 10 days, over 2 weekends, you spend more.
Yeah.
You spend more on what you put in your mouth than you are on the transformation. So that's the, and I know that some people don't make as much as others. I get all of that. I don't mean that anybody could afford it. I just mean that I think anybody who eats right now and has any type of social life could afford it. Because, you know, people tell me like, oh, I have a cheap lunch. A cheap lunch to me is you pack a lunch. Because there's no such thing as a lunch out there that's worth eating for the money. So if you spend, so let's say, what is a $5 foot long? Is that the deal, right?
$6.
Yeah, see, that's the truth. You said $6. Because nobody gets out for $5, right? You gotta get the, I mean, you know, you gotta get the jalapeno chips, you know, you gotta get
Extra
something
cheese,
else.
they charge you extra for extra cheese.
I wouldn't know that one. But the bottom line is that, you know, no one gets away for a meal for less than $6. I mean, you know, and no one I know only eats 3 meals a day. Okay, so, you know, so there is nobody who I know that has a job that doesn't spend over the course of those 10 days, 2 weekends included, more than the cost of a transformation. So the fact that you can't afford it is BS straight up and down. You either want it or you don't. And I don't mean that about you guys. I mean,
No.
I'm really glad that you got sponsored.
My point was that when it was going into the 3rd day over the weekend, me and my husband would quickly drop 150 that day, that Saturday.
Right.
And it was continuing. I was like, you save, you're not buying all the extras.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So a lot of people say, I lost money, I lost weight and I saved money on those 10 days. So let's not feed the illusion that you can't be afforded. You just tell anybody, tell me what you spent Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you know, then the midweek, and then another Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's 10 days. Everybody I know spends at least as much as the transformation in those 10 days. Another way to look at it is, did anybody see the comparison to Weight Watchers? And, you know, because if someone's looking to lose weight, then they got to look at us, because Weight Watchers and Jenny Craig and all those other Nutrisystem, they cost over, per pound lost, over $100, about $150 for every pound. So on their system, you'd have to do those things for a long enough time to lose the same amount of weight, 10, 15, 20 pounds. But with them, you lose like a pound a week. So you're going on for 90 days or more, and you eating, I mean, if you think taking green shakes is tough for 10 days, try eating those prepared meals for 3 months. Okay, that's hell right there. So the bottom line is that when compared to, if you want to lose weight, ours is, one, it's free because you would have spent the money anyway. But if you don't believe it's free, compare it pound for pound to any other way of losing weight. And ours is, I wish that David Litt was here. I think ours was like $14 a pound or $9.50 a pound, something like that. Because the average weight loss, so this is easy, average weight loss is 12.5 pounds. So it's maybe $15 a pound that the transformation costs you. And if I told somebody, you give me $200 and I'll take 10 pounds off your body right now, they go, here you go, boom, 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 boom. So it's definitely worth it. It's worth the money you spend for what you get. Now, here's another way it's worth it. Do you realize that if you start eating 20% less, or stop eating that food that maybe costs a lot but doesn't really give you a lot this way, that you actually start saving money every week and every day and every month of your life from then on in, because you change your eating habits. So that's also really important. So I don't want anybody to fall into the illusion that this isn't affordable, because everybody eats. Everybody eats every day, and everybody spends money on what they eat every day. So at the very least, you got to deduct that part. You know what I mean? So even if you only spend $12 a day or $10 a day, then you just deduct that from what the transformation costs. So let's be realistic about that. And then let's explain, if I can, why no other system has worked. Because I grew up in a family where a lot of my people were fat. And I say that with love, because my sister, I don't want to insult anybody, but they're in the, they got 2s and 3s, going on at the start of their number. So that's all I can say. There's some 4s and 5s, believe it. And so I grew up with big people that I loved, and watching them go through dieting was horrible for me, because their hope got up. Somebody promised them that something awesome was going to happen in their life. They tortured themselves in order to achieve that something. They even got results that they were proud of, and everybody said, I'm so proud of you, I'm so proud of you, you're so awesome. And you know how they felt when inevitably that weight came back on and it wasn't their fault? Like they let the whole world down when they didn't. They were let down by the world, and yet it just sucks. So here's what happens. For 40,000 years, we have ancestors that had to survive. And you know how they survived? When there was a drought? You know how they survived when there was a war, when there was pestilence, when there was winter? When they had to walk 40 miles to find food that maybe wasn't there when they got there? Do you know how they survived? It's survival of the...
Fittest.
No.
Fattest.
Survival of the fattest. I mean, no offense, but if I didn't eat for a couple weeks, I'm dead. If a spear hits me, I'm dead. This is all vital organs here. There is no protective layer going on. So people who had the protective layer, that survived. Because of that, all of us have deeply embedded in our genetic code a desire to survive. That means that if there's a drought, if we don't eat for... So anybody know the law of threes? 3 minutes without air, most people die. 3 hours in direct sunlight, most people die. 3 days without water, most people die. And 3 weeks without food, most people die. It's like 99%. So you can live for 3 weeks with no food and not die. And during that time, your body will burn off that protective layer of fat because it thinks you're dying. And it doesn't want you to die, right? So then what happens genetically if you are lucky enough to eat? If you go from famine to feast, what are your genetics going to do to keep you alive? Who said that? They have to put it back on, right? Your body has to put it back on because it knows there's another winter coming. There's been a winter every year. Your body's pretty smart. You've had times throughout your whole life that your ancestors and you have starved, and the only way to stay alive was to become fat in between the time that you became skinny. So you all see that built into our genetic code? So now fast forward to today and someone says, I got this great diet. All you have to do is stop eating. And what's the first 3 letters of diet? Okay. So diets trick your body into thinking you're dying, so they burn off the protective layer of fat. But wait, we forgot a letter. What letter did we forget?
T.
Oh, well, let's get that in there.
Cross.
Get it? Die with that nice cross at the end. Think about it. Diets don't work because they make your body think you're dying. And if you're lucky enough to finally find out you're not dying, you mean we're not going to starve to death? You started eating again? Whoop! What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? I just started eating food again. So here's the problem. Inside of your cells, inside of every cell of your body, there's a need. It needs energy, it needs water, it needs nutrients. You know what I mean? It even needs sugar. That's what the energy comes from. Sugar and oxygen make glucose, or glycogen. I mean, glycogen and oxygen make glucose and oxygen make glycogen. That's what our cells need for energy. And all of that needs to be delivered to our cells every day. So think of our cells as a household, like this household, and every day we need to turn on the lights, and we need to take out the trash, and we need to use the water, and we need to use the internet and watch cable TV, and every one of those has a different bill that needs to be paid, right? Well, your cells in your body have a lot of work to do, and they need energy to do that, and we need to deliver energy. What happens if you don't pay your cable bill, fellas?
Cut it off.
That's right. So make sure that doesn't happen, right? So what happens if you don't pay the gas bill, the water bill? If you don't pay the bill, the service gets shut off, and the same's true in our body. So we've got all these services our body provides to us: energy, intelligence, digestion, you know, and there's bills to pay for that. It's called the proper nutrients. So let's say you're eating a diet, and it has this many calories, but it only has this many nutrients, so our body's getting this big, but we're tired all the time. That's because we have a deficit of nutrients, but we have a surplus of calories. Does everybody understand that? Is that really simple to understand?
Yep.
So now we go on a diet, and we eat less food, which means we're having fewer calories, but what else happens? We're also having fewer
Nutrients.
and we're already deficient of nutrients. So now we're even more deficient of nutrients, which means our body, which kept sending signals to our brain saying, feed me, I'm nutrient deficient. And how did we respond? We gave it calories. So then we sent another message, feed me, I'm nutrient deficient. How did we respond? We fed it calories. So our body was already sending signals to feed me because it wasn't fed properly. Now check out the genius of what we do. The first thing is, any guy or any girl ever thought you were in shape and wanted to lose a few more pounds, so you went on a diet and all your muscle went away? Very frustrating. The reason why is because when your body starts to starve, the first thing it burns is muscle, not fat. So what we do is we give you, I call them the magic aminos. These are the world's most perfect protein. And when you take it 3 times a day, it builds up your muscle, even if you're not exercising, even if you're not eating. When your muscle is in an anabolic state, I don't want to get all scientific, but anabolic means building up. When your muscles are in an anabolic state, they can't be in a catabolic state. They can't be breaking down. You're either up or down, and this makes sure that you're up. If your muscles can't be burned for energy, your body has no choice but to go to the fat. So the first thing we do, we build your muscle and force your body to take energy from fat. Is that pretty clear?
Yes.
But we still have a nutrient deficiency at the cellular level, and that's why we take this. This has crazy, crazy stuff in it that you wouldn't even imagine, like the food of gladiators, the food that gladiators were, only food gladiators were allowed to eat, created by the Greek and Roman physicians, is in here. It's called activated barley. It's like oatmeal on steroids. Okay? Seriously. It has everything that oatmeal has plus more, but just in a super concentrated form. So in 1 tablespoon, a man can stay alive for a day. Then we have rice bran solubles. Brown rice was the primary food of the samurai and sumo that gave them their mass and their muscle. So don't think that you're going to be skinny necessarily. You're going to build muscle. You're just going to burn fat. So this has got both the rice bran solubles and the activated barley, but it also has wheatgrass and spirulina and a bunch of vegetables. So it's like all of the nutrients your body needs for your cells. So now the cells are being saturated with nutrients. The ones they weren't getting when we were getting this many calories, but this many nutrients. Now you're getting this many nutrients and almost no calories. And your body's like, I'm starving for 3 days. It's cursing you, saying, I'm starving, you're not, blah, blah, blah. But then your cells are like, wait a minute, we're not starving. Your mouth may be starving, but your cells aren't starving. Your memory may be starving, but your cells aren't starving. your emotions may be starving, but your cells aren't starving. But then something crazy happens by day 5. Like you feel this total, like crazy control, liberation. I can't believe that this is even happening because I'm drinking weird green stuff and taking little white pills, and yet I've never felt better in my life. And I see this happen time and time again. And if you have 100 pounds to lose, there's a good chance you're going to lose 20 in the first 10 days. I mean, I've seen 25 pounds drop in the first 10 days. We have a girl, Monica, who's lost 177 pounds. She started at 305, and now she's, somebody do the math for me, you know, she's down 177 pounds, yeah, so whatever, 17, and yeah, she's at 128 or whatever she is now, somebody help me there before I embarrass myself.
130 because she said it.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, isn't that amazing? I mean, because, and have you seen, I mean, we have pictures, one girl, literally, she started out so big that she could rest her arms like this and look like she was flying, and I'm not saying that in a bad way. And then, at the end picture, she's like wearing this little short shorts like Daisy Dukes, and she's all like working it, you know, and it's like, oh my God, you know, she has got so much pride in what she was able to do, and she looked pretty hopeless in the first picture, like, you know, I mean, just, and to see that, and even better is we have one picture of a woman who was probably about 220, so she wasn't huge, but she was big. And then the next picture, she was 105, and she was running a marathon. You remember, you right, with all the gear on, she looked like she had been an athlete her whole life, right?
Yep.
But yet, just 4 months before, and please don't take this wrong, she was that sort of frumpy lady you bump into in the store and it's just like a pillow, you know? And I don't mean that bad. I mean, like I said, I got a lot of fat friends. I give a lot of hugs where I can't even come close to touching my arms. But I want those people who I love to, you know, I'm 52 years young. I can't wait to be 62, 72, 82, 92, 102, 112. And I mean, it's embarrassing, but me and my 21-year-old daughter go out together and people look at me like, okay, what's going on here, you know? She said she's going to get me some cargo pants and a bowling t-shirt just to make sure that people know that I'm not her date, I'm her dad. But the bottom line is that, you know, I want everybody to feel, I don't care how I look, I got wrinkles and gray hair, I don't care. I want everybody to feel the way I feel inside. And every single morning, I wake up with the energy more than I had when I was 17. I can run faster, jump higher, I have faster reaction times. You know, I play all sports better than I did when I was 17, and I'm 52 years old. And I don't know, you know, I'm a late bloomer maybe, but I don't think I've come anywhere near my peak yet. Wow. So I want people to realize that, I mean, life keeps going on at a very high level, and you can't quit. You can't give up, because life's got amazing gifts to give you if you want them. So I saw, did anybody watch the Super Bowl? Did everybody watch the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Okay, so the guy who stole the Super Bowl from my team at the end, the bottom line is that I'm a Pete Carroll fan, that's all. I liked him at USC. I like his redemption. I like the fact that he failed and failed. But you know what's funny? Everybody says that, but he got his team to the Super Bowl, and the week before, his taking chances won the game for him. Remember that? Mm-hmm. He was a genius the week before for the fake field goal and all that. So you got to remember that the guy who hits home runs strikes out 200 times a year, hits 30 home runs, and that's why they pay you. You know what I mean? So there's the funny thing about life is everybody's always ready to tear you down. Everybody's always ready to call you a loser for one mistake you make. You could succeed 1,000 times because everybody's always ready to tear you down. That's why you can never listen to what anybody else says. If they're encouraging you, listen. But otherwise, the bottom line is, here's what I want to share with you. The guy who caught the interception, you all know the story now. He was junior college, you know, Division II, working in a burger shop or a sandwich shop or something, and he got his chance. They called him up, they gave him a tryout, and he made the team. He took his chance. He had his chance, and he took it. And here's what I took away from that. He said, do you have anything to share with anybody? He said, yeah, here's what it is. He said, chances don't come along that often in life. And I saw mine, and I passionately pursued my opportunity. And look what he did with that. Look at how many people have the chance to do what he did. Almost none. That maybe happens once every 10 or 20 years that somebody saves a Super Bowl with a play like that. And it was him. And he was in that position because he was passionately pursuing the opportunity that was presented to him. And so when people look at this opportunity to change their life that's right in front of them right now, to get on a 10-day transformation, to forget about the temptations and the smell of food and the taste of food that you know. Did anybody see the McDonald's commercial at halftime? And everybody's like, oh, that's so cool. So I want you to pay for the food that's going to give you cancer potentially and give you obesity and diabetes potentially if you live on this food. But it's okay because we're making you feel good with our commercial. You see, that's the deception. That is the evil deception that exists in the world. So the difficult path is the one that has the greatest reward at the end. And the easy path is the one that is always filled with regrets at the end. So you could say it's too expensive. You could say that it tastes funny. You could say that you're not ready. You could say anything you want. But when you are ready, and when you dedicate 10 days of your life to this transformation, you will never, ever be the same. Because you're going to be so empowered by the fact that you did something that very few people really could do, which is say no to all the temptations for 10 days. That you're going to feel the energy and what it's like to be clean inside, which you haven't felt in so long. Imagine a smoker who quit smoking for a year, what their lungs would feel like. Well, an eater who quits eating for 10 days is going to know what their body feels like you never imagined. Because that food you're eating is just like the smoke that's going into the lungs of a cigarette smoker. And so when you take that 10-day vacation and you know what it feels like for your organs and your digestion and your mind to actually be free of that burden, it's life-changing. And here's the cool part. If it is expensive for some people, I want you to be inspired to maybe share your wealth that you have or some of what you have, or maybe give some of your product. But when someone has an experience and they share it, and the people around them don't need them to say anything, they're walking up to you saying, you look great. What have you been doing? Did anybody tell you that?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I go up to my guy friends and I go, I haven't seen your cheekbones in like 20 years now. You know? It's like, I'm serious, you know? Like, I got some handsome friends. And I mean, some really good-looking guy friends, and I didn't know it till they dropped 10 or 15 pounds.
Yeah. Or you see their face.
All of a sudden, you see their face, right? And the smile that goes along with it, and what's more attractive than a smile, right, girls? Don't you want to see a guy who's smiling? He wants to see a scowl. You know what I mean? So everybody wants to see a smile. When you're feeling good and you think you're looking good, you're smiling, and that raises that same vibration even higher. So I have to just go on record of saying that I love people, skinny people, fat people, tall people, old people, that whole thing. But what I want is, I want people to know what I know. And here's what I know. The number one reason why people age too fast and why people get diseases that they shouldn't is because of what they put in their mouth. And the quality of the food you eat in your lifetime is going to equate to the quality of life that you have and the longevity. So I met Jean Colment when she was 119 years old. She lived to be 123, and she's in the Guinness Book of World Records. If anybody has a little cup of water. And so I realized that human beings are capable of living to be 120 and beyond. And then I saw a study on 80-year-old men who had died of natural causes, and they had not expressed half of their human growth hormone. It had not been expressed, and their HGH and their testosterone was still trapped inside of their tissues that had never been used. And so if half of your, of your stem cell potential and half of your potential of hormonal potential hasn't even been used when you're 80 years old, what does that tell you about how long you can actually live? And so when we live in a world where we think 70 is old, dang, my grandfather was making babies at 79. I mean, seriously. So, I mean, we live in a world where we absolutely underestimate our potential. So does anybody here read the Bible or believe in God? Do you believe that this is a image of God, that we were created in His image, that this is a temple that we're supposed to take care of?
Yep.
Yes.
And if you bring gifts to the temple, are you going to bring like McDonald's or Burger King? Is that what you're going to bring to the temple? You know, I have a lot of Buddhist friends, and they set up their little temple, and they always bring like a nice piece of fresh fruit, you know what I mean? Or, something they wouldn't dare put some French fries there. Guarantee you that. So if this is, the image of our Creator, if this is the temple, I want you to ask yourself, what gifts are you bringing to that temple? And what image are you recreating for God if we were made in that image? Genesis 1:29, it says, I've given you the grasses of the field. People go, why would you eat grass? Genesis 1:29, I've given you the grass of the field and the seed-bearing fruits of the vine. And make this your sustenance, that which will sustain you. It didn't say, drive through and talk to a clown. So then the last thing I'll leave you with, I'm not a religious person at all. I think that I pray probably 10 times a day. I don't even know who I'm praying to. I just know that there's something up there that guides my life. I don't need to choose or name it, but I know that it's there. But I love to read different, places where I find wisdom. And I found something that was brought to me really amazing. And I just heard about it for the first time, called the Daniel diet. Has anybody heard of that? It was really cool. I posted it on Facebook, and it said that, Daniel said he didn't want to eat the king's feast, that he didn't want to defile his body with the food that was fed, the feast that was for kings. So he asked to be fed water and vegetables for 10 days. Coincidence? I don't know. 10 days. And he said, all I want you to do is observe me versus the other people. And after 10 days, you don't believe that that I'm healthy, and that, then you could stop. But after 10 days, they looked better than the other people who had been eating the king's feast. So, what I'm offering to people, I'm not the first one to lead people down this road. And the things that I'm teaching you, there's nothing that you don't already know. I'm just pushing it in your face and saying, if you know it, why aren't you applying it? If you have the knowledge and you know how to save yourself, why aren't you doing it? So I appreciate the opportunity to come by and meet all of you. And I guarantee you that if you take a chance, take that 10-day vacation from the food that may be killing you and see what it feels like. But don't believe the people who tell you, oh my God, that was so easy. It was the coolest thing. Because they're on day 10. And they're like so high. Woo, baby. Listen to them on day 3 when they're saying, this is tough, but I'm going to do it. I could eat the wallpaper right now, but I'm not going to. Isn't that little pieces of corn on the wallpaper? You could eat one of those little babies right now. I know. On transformations, I've driven by billboards and almost gotten in wrecks going, oh, that looks so good. So everybody, we all have cravings. We all have this feeling that we want to put stuff in our mouth and chew it and smell it and taste it and feel like this. But that's what we have flex foods for. And when you gotta put something in your mouth, put a flex food. So I just gotta tell a funny story. I love Mexican food, and I'm driving to my Oasis, and I see this brand new Mexican restaurant, and it looks like it was opened by a mom and pop, and I love that stuff. So I pull in, and I order, you know, so I don't remember what I ordered, but it was delicious. I mean, the best food I'd ever had in my life. So some other people were coming up behind me, and I said, hey, just don't even eat before you leave, because we want to eat first, and then we'll head up. No, no, no. Start driving, stop at this little Mexican place, you're going to love it. They all show up at the Oasis, they're like, oh my God, we're so sick. What's wrong? Did you drive fast on the road? No. That place you told us to eat, are you crazy? Like, that stuff had, like, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, really? You know? And so then I go, wow, you know, so I stopped by there again. The next time I drove through, that place was horrible. And then I realized I hadn't eaten in like 2 days. Right? I mean, I could have eaten the plate and I'd have been bragging about how good it was. Just a little salsa, anything tastes good, right? Tapatio, bam, okay, you know, give me a shoe. So anyway, and the reason why is because, so imagine when you're really hungry, and you're going to grab something that's not too healthy, and then your brain's going to go, when I'm really hungry, you know what's awesome? You know, whatever. You know, whatever I could grab. But if when you're doing the transformation, when you get really hungry, you have that avocado with some lemon and some cayenne and some sea salt. You slice up some of those cucumbers and use them like chips. You know, have some watermelon. Take an apple and cut it in a way to where you taste the sweetness out of every bite. You know what I mean? You're going to be really surprised at how delicious those things taste. And then a month later, you're going to be like, hey, honey, I'm hungry. What do you want? And he's going to go, hey, could you slice up some avocados? And you're going to be, what? You know? And that's the reason why. Because we retrained you to want the right thing. So again, thank you all for being here. And I'm glad I was able to make it by. I'm on my way to Sedona, and then to Tucson, and then to New York, and then wherever they spin and point me. So, am I still wound up? Is that thing still? I think I'm done. Thank you all very much.